Okay, let me talk about the derivation just briefly. I know we go through it in class, but I'm going to draw a coordinate system over here. And let me just do that right now. Put a coordinate system here. This is going to be the abscissa. Whoops, lost my ruler. All right, let me get rid of that. And what I'm going to do now is just talk about what I'm seeing over here. I'm seeing a point here, a point here, and a point over here. And let's talk about what these points are. This point over here, fairly simple. It's just simply c units to the right, and the y coordinate is going to be 0. Again, this is going to be x, this is going to be y over here, coordinate system. The point A is going to be 0, 0. And the point C, probably the most complicated thing, has to do with the definition of the trig functions. Let's take a look at that. That's going to be b cosine of angle A, and then b sine of angle A. All right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do distance formula. And I want to do the distance between this point here and this point over here. And that distance is a units. So I'm going to use the Pythagorean theorem. That's basically just the distance formula. So I'm going to say a squared equals, well, I'm going to do the difference now. And the difference is going to be, excuse me, b cosine of the angle A minus side length C squared plus, and what do you get there is going to be b sine of angle A minus 0. I'm just taking the difference between 2 points, Pythagorean theorem. All right? What are you going to do now? I guess I simplify it because I really don't see how this could possibly be one of those three formulas over there. Let's go through this. This is a squared. What goes over here? B squared cosine squared of A. Then it's going to be minus 2bc cosine of angle A. Then what do you get? You get plus c squared plus, now this one's pretty simple to do, just b squared sine squared of A. All right? And again, looking at it, I still don't see how that could possibly be that over there. So it's going to rearrange it, and you get a squared equals, and by rearranging what I'm doing is I'm going to take these two terms here and factor out b squared. And when you do that, you get b squared, then you get cosine squared A plus sine squared A. Then we left off with, well, plus c squared, that's coming from here, and then minus 2bc cosine of angle A. What's convenient about this is the Pythagorean identity there, and that's simply just equal to 1. So we get b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine of A. All right? So I'm going to say, did I get one of the formulas? I did. Which one did I get? I got this one over here. Again, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cosine A. Now again, your teachers may ask you to derive that. It really depends on your teacher, but I'm going to say you should be able to derive that on your own. What I'm going to do now is start doing the problem set. Well, before I do that, I should point out you could permute these letters around and you get the other formulas if you did that, permute them around. All right, so let's take a look at this one over here, and we'll talk about what's done in my classroom, but we'll also talk about what's done in other classrooms. In other classrooms, are asking you to use a calculator. In my classroom, there is no calculator. So what I want to do, looking at this over here, I want to point out there's three angles, A, B, and C, and there's three sides, A, B, and C. The angles are uppercase, the sides are lowercase. Now, what are they going to solve the triangle means this, that I come up with angle B, that's uppercase B, I come up with uppercase A as well. They're the two angles. I got to get those. What else do I need? I need side C, right? Now, what have been given? There's certain things that have been given. Angle C has been given, and that's 102 degrees. I'm going to say side A has been given, and what's that going to be? 3.9. It's not measured at this point, but I'll say 3.9 units. What's B going to be? It's going to be 2.4 units long, all right? So what are you going to do now is you're going to try to figure this out. And I'm going to say I'm going to use the law of cosines. And what I'm going to put over here is I'm going to say c squared, that's side C, is equal to, now I'm not going to write down a which is 3.9. I'm just going to write down a squared. Do I know what a is? Of course I do. It's written down. It's 3.9, and I'd square that number. But again, I'm not using a calculator, so I'll just write it down. What's the next thing going to be? B squared. What's the next thing going to be? Well, minus 2 times, right? We're just writing down what the formula says. And again, if you can't remember the formulas, you go back and look at those. They're not that difficult. So it's going to be 2, A, and then it's going to be B, and then it's going to be times the cosine of the angle C. Again, I want to point out, I know everything in that problem except side C. What I need to do is I need to come up with C. What's it going to be? It's going to be the principal root of this, a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of C. Put a box in this indicating I know what C is now. I didn't do any computation, but I will claim this, so I will post another video of me actually doing the computation. And side C turns out to be approximately 4.99. You should have some intuitive sense looking at that picture that 4.99 is reasonable. All right, now so this is how you can get the other guys. I'm going to do it by using the law of sines, by the way. So over here I use law of cosines, LOC. Now I'm going to use the law of sines. All right, so someone says, what angle are you going to go for? Well, I tend to go for the small one. So I'm going to write this over here. I'm going to say sine of B. I don't know what that is, by the way. Over side B, I do know what that is, equals the sine of C. I know what that is. Over side C, and I know what side C is. I want to tell you what we're looking for. We're looking for angle B, by the way. So I need to solve this equation. It's sine B is equal to B, which is known to me. Sine of C is known to me. Divide by side C, and side C is known to me. It's in the box. What do you do over here? B is equal. It's equal to the arc sine of B times sine of C over C, and I'm going to say that's my answer for B. All right. I'm also going to say we should use a calculator for that, and if you're using a calculator for that, you should get B to be about 28.1 degrees. That's an approximate answer. All right. Now, someone says, how do you get the other guy? It's fairly simple. I know that A plus B plus C has to be 180 degrees. All right. Someone says, what's the angle that's missing? Well, the angle that's missing now is A. So what's A going to be equal to? 180 degrees minus B minus C. Put a box in that, indicate that's my answer. I'm also going to use a computer to do that. And if you're doing a computer, but doing the arithmetic, you're going to get 49.9. And that's degree. All right? So 49.9 degrees. Again, on my exams, you don't approximate because you're not using a calculator. I'm going to go to the next question, and I'll come back and do the calculator exercise later. Looking at this one over here, again, I'm going to use what I know, which is the law of cosines, and law of sines as necessary. So let's take a look at this one over here. I'm going to write down what A is. A is 4. This is a given to me. I'm going to write down C. Well, C is a given to me. It's 2.7. And I'm going to write down B, and B is 4.3. All right? So if someone says, what are you going to do over there? I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to go for the biggest angle first. And how would I do that? Law of cosines. So B squared, yes, I know what that is, equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC times the cosine of angle B. Right, I need to solve for that B, though. Let me write this over here. So it's 2AC cosine of B. All I did there was I added that to both sides. And what do you get now? A squared plus C squared. And I'm going to subtract B squared from both sides. All right, what do you do now? Well, cosine of B is going to be equal to A squared plus C squared minus B squared all over 2AC. I'm going to use the arc function now, and B is going to be equal to arc cosine A squared plus C squared minus B squared over 2AC. All right, I'm going to say that's what B is. Now, if you're using a calculator, which I would recommend you learn how to use, you're going to get 77 degrees approximately for that. All right? Now, so how do you get the other guys? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use law of sines now. And look at law of sines, I'm going to go for the smallest angle at C, which is angle C. So I'm going to say sine of C over side C is going to be the sine of, well, I do know B, over side B. And the question is, do I know those things? I know everything except for angle C at this point. So what I'm going to do is write this down. So sine of C is C that's side C, sine of angle B, put my these guys over here, over B. I'm going to use the arc function again. So C is equal to arc sine of C, that's side C, or the length of it, sine of angle B divided by B. All right, I'm going to say that's what C is. Again, I'm going to go back to the use of a computer to do that, or a calculator, and calculate what C is. But C turns out to be about 37.8 degrees, about. Now, someone says, how do you get into the other angle? I write this down. A plus B plus C would equal 180 degrees. All right? What does that mean? Well, what angle's missing now? I know angle C, I know angle B, but I don't know A. So what's A going to be? 180 degrees minus B minus C. Again, if this is my exam, this is what I'd write down. Now again, if you're going to approximate it, which is not a bad idea to learn how to approximate numbers using a computer, you're going to get, let's see, angle A is going to be a roughly 65.2 degrees. All right, let's go to the next one. Next one's a word problem. The problem with word problem is reading them and trying to understand what you've read. And, certainly reading through it. Pilot flies in a straight line for 1 hour and 30 minutes. She then makes a course correction heading 11 degrees to the right of her original course and flies 2 hours in a new direction. So I'm going to, try to visualize. And the way I visualize it, it might be a simple visualization, but I'm going to say she's just heading in that direction over there, a straight line. And that's going to be a vertical line. And she does that for 1 hour and 30 minutes at 500 miles per hour. So what would that be? Well, that would be 500 and 250, which is 750 miles. Put this over here. 750 miles. Okay. Then what does she do? She changes direction. So she's not heading straight anymore. She's going to go in the other direction, this direction over here. And this angle over here is 11 degrees because it says she turns to the right 11 degrees. And then she flies, right? She flies more. And how much more does she do? 2 hours more. So that's going to be 1,000 miles. And sorry for writing over the writing over there, but I think I got a good idea what's happening over here. I'm trying to do it somewhat of a scale over here. Now looking at this angle over here, which I want to come up with, that's going to be 180 minus 11, which is 169 degrees. And yeah, you should do some simple arithmetic, and I consider that to be simple, as are the distances, by the way. I wouldn't say it's a computational problem for me. Right, now what do they want to know? They want to know how far is she from the starting position. Well, this is starting position. This is when she took a turn. And this is where she is now. And there's going to be a distance over here, right? I'm not sure what that is at this point, but I'm looking at it, and I got a rough idea that it's, it's not going to be, it's going to be close to 1,700, I think, all right? But anyway, let's take a look at, label this thing over here. As I do it, though, I'm going to call this angle C. I'm going to call this angle A. I'm going to call this angle B over here. I'm going to call this side C. I'm going to call this side B. I'm going to call this side A. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use law of cosines. Now, I'm not solving the triangle. I just want to know what C is. And what's C going to be? Well, let's write this down. C squared is going to be equal to A squared. I want to point out I know A is 1,000 miles. I'll put 1,000 down. And I know B is 750. What else do I know? I know the angle C is 169 degrees. So it's A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of angle C. Now, I can solve for C now by using the square root rule, and I know it's a positive number, so I'm going to go plus or minus down. So A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of angle C. And I'm going to put the unit down, and this is in miles. I'm going to put a box in this, indicating if this were my exam, that's what I'd want written as an answer. Now, could I do that computation using a calculator? Of course I can, and I would do that on a calculator, but on our exams we don't have calculators. So I'm going to say if you do this on a calculator, you're going to get about 1,742.11 miles. Again, that's not necessary in exams. What's in the box is necessary. The picture might be helpful, by the way. Let me keep moving through this, and I'm moving on to the next problem, which is a surveyor. And I have to read it. It says, find a distance across a small lake. A surveyor has taken the measurements as shown. Find the distance across the lake. So I'm going to say the distance across the lake is going to be length C. And why is that? It's opposite angle C. And then I got to figure out what these sides are. So it says over here, Assume the points A and B are exactly along the shoreline. Yeah, I can do that. And then, I'm sorry, side A is 2.62. I'll write this over here. And that's in miles. And the other guy, B, is 3.11 miles. And again, I see this as being a problem that I'm not solving the triangle. I'm just coming up with the length C. And what is going to be? C squared. And, oh, by the way, I want to emphasize we need three things to do this. And I'll write those three things that we need. We need to know side A is 2.62. Yes, I know it's in miles. B, we know is 3.11 miles. And we need to know the angle C is 40.3 degrees. Let's write this down. C squared is equal to A squared. I know what A is. Plus B squared. I know what B is. Minus 2AB times the cosine of angle C. I'm going to solve this. And what do you get? It's basically just a root problem. You get A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of angle C. All right? And that's in miles. I'll put a box on it. And on my exams, that's what my answer would look like. Now, I'm going to say it's not much work, but I do want to talk about if you're using the calculator for this over here. And if you do calculator, be reasonable with the two. You're looking at the picture, 2.03 miles. And that seems reasonable to me looking at the picture. Well, let me get the next question. And the next question, I'm going to say, I think it's the last one. Let me make sure of that. Yeah, last question. All right. And I'm looking at it, and I'm kind of curious about what they're asking about. This is a fisherman leaves his home port, heads in the direction north, 70 degrees west. So I know they're talking directions at this point. Let me write down what I mean by that. This is north. This is south. Then we got something over here. I know it looks great over here. This would be the east, and that would be the west. All right, so I know they're talking in that system where they're talking about north, south, east, west, right? So let's take a look. It says, look at the picture, north, but 70 degrees west. I see that. He travels a distance of 20 miles. So I'm going to say, I can write that down, and this is going to be 20 over here. So this D1 is 20 miles, all right? And I keep looking at it, and he reaches this egg island, and the next day he sails north, but 10 degrees east. And I do see that being indicated, by the way. Now, looking at it, I want to understand that D2 is also a number. What's D2 going to be? D2 is 20, all right? So I'm going to say, I kind of understand the picture, but I don't see the triangle yet. So what I want to do is, let me get my eraser out. I'm going to erase this stuff so I kind of understand it, but I do want to look for a triangle at this point. And I see the triangle like almost immediately. I'm going to draw it in for you. And I'm not saying it's the best looking triangle, but I'm going to try to do the best I possibly can. And I'm going to do something like this over here. Get my line out. All right, let me get rid of the ruler. And wow, I can see something now. And what do I see over here? I want to point out a couple of things I'm seeing over here. Like if I extend this horizontal line like this and this vertical line like this, I'm seeing a right triangle over here. And I'm going to erase this a little bit later. And what would I see over here? Well, looking at the 70 degrees, I see it. This would be 20 degrees. And this would be 70 degrees over here. All right? And then I'm going to extend this thing over here. And what do I see over there? Well, that's 10 degrees. This would be 80 degrees. And if that's 70 degrees, this would be 20 degrees. All right? So I think I'm starting to see some things. And I want to point out what I'm seeing over here. I'm seeing a triangle, and I got some information down here. But I'm going to start to erase stuff that I don't need anymore. Like, I don't need this. This just helped me out a little bit. And the 80 and 20 is 100. All right, so I erase that over there. So I'll put that in. I do need that, by the way. That's degrees. So I'm going to label a diagram on that A, B, and C again. I'm going to call this angle C. I'm going to call this side C. I'm going to call this angle A up here. And I'm going to call this angle B down here. All right? And you may want to relabel that in a different way, but I'm going to say it's not so bad. This is side A. And what was side A? Side A was 20, and it's in miles. This is side B. What's side B? Side B was 45 miles. Not really drawn to scale, is it? That's not too important to me, by the way, but it's not drawn to scale. Like, I would see that as not drawn to scale, because 20 and 45, that would have to be 2 1/4 times that, right? That's not 40. I put a degree symbol. I'm sorry about that. It's 45 miles, but it's not drawn to scale. I'm not worried about it. So I'm going to write this over here. I'm going to write down c squared, which is the part A of this over here. So this is part A. So in part A, what do I need to know? I need to know what c is. And what's c going to be equal to? A squared, I'm sorry, c squared. A squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c. So I'm going to write down what I need for this. I need to know what A is. And A is 20. That's miles, by the way. And I do need to know the B. The B is 45. That's in miles. And I do need angle C. And angle C is 100 degrees. I'm going to write that down. All right? So what's C going to be equal to? C is pretty simple. It's like we've always been doing. It's the root of, principal root, A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine of C. And I'll put a box in that. Oh, you know what? I'll put the unit down. It's in miles. And again, that's my exam question. That's the answer to part A. If you want to approximate that, though, the approximate answer over there, again, I got to look at my notes because I can't do the computation in my head, by the way. And that's about 52.32 miles. Again, I'll do this on a calculator later. You'll see that. All right, I'll do all the computation on a calculator. Basically with my notes, by the way. I'll look at my notes and put the calculation down for you. I'll show you how to do that. I do believe that letter B is a more difficult question, by the way. All right? So someone says, how do you do that? And I'm going to point out, it has something to do with the law of cosines, all right? Or law of sines, when you look at it. So I'm looking at this thing over here, and I got a lot of information on this thing over here. And certainly looking at it, and I got to be careful about this. And looking at it, I want to get the angle, I think angle A, right? So let me write this over here. Angle A, I need angle A. So I'm going to say sine of angle A over side A. I'm going to say sine of C over C. Now I just want to discuss, do I know the information problem? Do I know the length of side A? I do. Do I know the length of side C? It's in the box. I know that one too. Do I know angle C? I do. What I want to do is I want to solve for angle A now. And let me go through that with you. Sine of A is equal to A times the sine of C over side C. All right? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to say A is equal to arc sine of A sine of C over C. And this will be in degrees. My calculator's in degree mode. So the question is that the question? And it's not the question. The question is find the bearing. And all I found out was this angle over here. That's what I found out over here. But what I want to do is I want to talk about the direction he's going in. And I hope you realize that looking at the picture, he's got to be going south, right? And then he's going to have to steer his boat as he's doing this to the east. The question is, there's a number that goes here, and it's going to be a degree number. So looking at it, and again, the picture's really kind of distorted, but I got to talk about that. And I know the angle A, and my question over here, I'm going to look at this over, I'm going to extend this line over here. And I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to put a line down this way. All right? And what do I know about this? I get my eraser. It's not easy. I realize that. For a lot of students, this is very difficult. Right? What do I know about this over here? That this is going to be 80 degrees, and this angle right here is going to be 10 degrees. Again, I made a right triangle. Now, what I got to do is talk about what this angle is over here. Well, it has something to do with angle A. But I just want this little tiny angle over here. So what's it going to be? Angle A, whatever that is, minus 10 degrees. All right? So I'm going to write that answer down for you. And again, I'll talk about the number in a second. So it's going to be, you have to go south. And then I'm going to put the number down, and that number is going to be, again, it's going to be angle A minus 10 degrees. And you're going in what direction? You're going east. All right? So I'm going to say if this were my exam paper, that's what I'd be writing down. Right? I want to put the approximate down for it, though. indicating if I used a calculator, I'd get around 12.1 degrees. All right, I get about that. All right, I think we covered it out, and I think we answered all the questions. This is part B. We did part A. This was probably the toughest one, and some of the problems with it, the picture's not really drawn to scale, but that's not terribly important. I'll go to Sage next then. Thank you.